President Donald Trump is now considering a slightly different kind of deportation. El Salvador's president, Nayib Bukele, made the U.S. an unprecedented offer on Monday, writing on X, "We have offered the United States of America the opportunity to outsource part of its prison system. We are willing to take in only convicted criminals, including convicted U.S. citizens, into our mega prison, CCOT, in exchange for a fee. The fee would be relatively low for the U.S., but significant for us, making our entire prison system sustainable."
Here's Trump's response last night.
If we could get them out of our country, we have other countries that would take them. It's no different than a prison system, except it would be a lot less expensive, and it would be a great deterrent. Send them to other countries. If we could go a step further, in other words, we're talking about getting the criminals out of our country that come in through other countries illegally, right? The illegal migrants, as I call them. Well, we have people that are just as bad as them in our country. If we could get them out, I'd be very happy.
So you would pay El Salvador to
El
house
Salvador
them?
said that he wanted you to pay a fee for that. Would you pay that?
Well, it's a very small fee compared to what we pay to private prisons.
But under what authority?
And a very, very small fee. I don't know, we'll have to find that out legally. I'm just saying, if we had the legal right to do it, I would do it in a heartbeat.
Secretary of State Marco Rubio had paid a visit to El Salvador on Monday. He responded to Bukele's proposal on X, writing, "Very productive meeting with Salvadoran President Nayib Bukele. His commitment to accept and incarcerate criminals from any country, including from violent gangs like MS-13 and Tren de Aragua, will make America safer." In an extraordinary gesture never before extended by any country, President Bukele offered to house in his jails dangerous American criminals, including U.S. citizens and legal residents.
Before Bukele rose to power in 2019, El Salvador was a notoriously violent nation. In fact, it was nicknamed the murder capital of the world.
Bukele promised to crack down on his country's violence and has very clearly succeeded. His main target? Members of the notorious gang MS-13. According to El Salvador News, the country's homicide rate in 2024 was 1.9 per 100,000 inhabitants, making it the safest country in the Western Hemisphere.
Human rights advocates have criticized his harsh methods, however. Firstly, he has used emergency powers to conduct sweeping arrests, 81,000 in total since 2022. Prisoners also face lack of due process measures, and the State Department warned in a travel advisory of the country's harsh prison conditions. Overcrowding constitutes a serious threat to prisoners' health and lives, the advisory reads. In many facilities, provisions for sanitation, potable water, ventilation, temperature control and lighting are inadequate or non-existent. Bukele has showcased in the past what his prisons look like.
Here's a preview of CCOT, a maximum security prison in El Salvador that currently holds around 14,500 inmates. Conservative commentator Jake Beckett wrote on X, "Deterrence is the most important factor in maintaining law and order. Imagine the chilling effect on future crime in the U.S. when criminals realize they face the possibility of doing hard time in El Salvador." Boyd Institute fellow Michael Gurman said, on the other hand, "Send everyone with a life sentence to El Salvador will be much cheaper than here in the U.S. Love this idea."
Meanwhile, senior fellow at American Immigration Council Aaron Reichlin-Melnick wrote on Blue Sky, "I don't care what Bukele says, they cannot deport Americans, and I'm glad the AP didn't mince words or say something mealy-mouthed. It just is not legal under any law, or any reading of any law, or any even weird little quirk of any law. It's not a thing."
Riot Platform's VP of Research, Pierre Rochard, posited, "Can we send Bob Menendez?" To which Bukele responded, "Yes, we'll gladly take him." Not a sympathetic person to spare the trip to El Salvador. However, I do agree that I don't think sending criminals, even very violent or dangerous criminals who are American citizens, to El Salvador is something we could legally do. I suppose that topic would need to be explored. I am not for that. However, if they want to take violent illegal immigrant criminals, that is another matter and seems fine by me.
So a couple of things. It seems pretty clear-cut from everything I've read that indeed it would not be legal. The United States government cannot deport American citizens to serve prison sentences elsewhere, El Salvador or anywhere else. Now, you're right that the issue of non-citizens, migrants, etc. is different, and obviously Trump is in the process of trying to get various different arrangements in different countries for that. I suppose what I think of as the more distasteful element in all of this is the kind of glee with which people are imagining this idea, setting aside the legalities of it. Wouldn't it be great if we sent our criminals to serve hard time or to serve under particularly oppressive conditions in El Salvador? No, not really, no. I mean, there are genuine human rights concerns about those prisons. It's not as if the American prison system is some sort of walk in the park itself. There have been all kinds of very unpleasant and dangerous incidents in American prisons. So I don't really get this glee, even if it is Americans who have been found guilty of serious crimes. This idea that, oh, we can just ship them off to El Salvador and this guy can take care of them, I don't find that useful or constructive.
Yeah, El Salvador presents an interesting case. I mean, there are trade-offs between liberty and safety. As someone who cares about liberty a lot, I've watched the videos about this El Salvadorian prison and what they've done there and the kind of, mass incarceration of people associated with these gangs. And it does make me a little bit uncomfortable. On the other hand, El Salvador had a massive violent crime problem that this tactic of significantly locking up people associated with gang activity and putting them in this prison has helped reduce their violent crime rate substantially. So it comes down to your priorities. What do you want to do?
Well, it has, but I mean, that is the danger, isn't it? That we go down this road of saying, well, for the sake of security, we'll just lock people up in a mass scale or without due process, which is what the Salvadorian president appears to be doing. That's why he's getting all this criticism. I also wonder if this whole offer to the Trump administration is not simply a means of currying favor and avoiding the negative implications of his own behavior. I mean, kind of Latino.
You say he's getting criticism, but my understanding is he is incredibly popular in El Salvador because he has brought down the violent crime rate. He was reelected with, I think, like a supermajority of popular support because there was a mandate to do something about this. Now, I wanted to talk a little bit about the deterrent effect of locking people up, because one of the tweets we've read mentioned that. My recollection from research I've read about how much of a deterrence effect there is for prison time is that certainty and immediacy of serving a prison sentence is found to serve a deterrent. It's not really the length of time. So what would be ideal, and this doesn't necessarily jive with, but let's say we could set aside due process concerns or legal concerns. I'm not actually setting those aside.
No problem.
What would be, you commit a crime, you go to jail immediately. It does not necessarily forever, but that there is a swift, or you reoffend, jail instantly. That, according to researchers, has a deterrent effect. What problem in our system is the system is so overcrowded and it takes forever. There are a lot of people, and this is a due process violation or liberties violation, people waiting in prison for their trial date who haven't been convicted of anything yet. Now, people could argue, well, you have to do that for people who've been, if this is multiple go-rounds with the legal system, if there's video footage of them striking someone on the street, probably they do gotta wait in prison for their date, even if they haven't been convicted of that crime yet. But it takes so long, and that actually works against the deterrence effect. The theory being some people commit crimes and saying, well, if I get caught, we're gonna be arguing about this in court for months and months and months and years. So you're not, the immediacy of the punishment doesn't get in there, and that's what has the deterrent effect.
Well, I mean, obviously, I think that there should be due process and people can have the right to appeal and all of that.
I do too.
But the point is, in relation to the capacity of the system, if we had more judges, if we had a better system to funnel people through the criminal justice system and find them guilty or not guilty, then that process of delay would be much reduced, and we would not have the difficulty of people who often cannot afford bail being in detention for too long a time, not convicted of any offence.
Maybe our system would be less swamped if we had all the violent illegal immigrants getting on boarding a plane to El Salvador.
Well, maybe it would not, Robby, because maybe those people make up a very tiny proportion of the criminal offending population here.
Coming up on Rising, 2 media outlets have been called to testify before a House committee. We'll find out why.